You're listening to the God Stories Radio podcast with Fritz, Mike, and Tina, bringing hope, comfort, and encouragement through the power of the Christian testimony. Listen live on the Mixlr app and follow us on your favorite platform, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, and radio.com. Stay connected with us on Facebook and Twitter at God Stories Radio.
And welcome, everyone, to this edition of God Stories Radio. This is session 263. I'm Fritz.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Joe.
The sound of JoJo in the studio.
Good evening.
Joe is here.
That he is. And a certain somebody is not. And that would be Tina.
She's not here.
She is not feeling well tonight, so I covet your prayers. No COVID or anything serious like that, but just really nasty allergies.
'Tis the season.
'Tis the season to be allergenic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that a couple of weeks ago. It would hit me pretty hard. And it's a bad year to have bad allergies because people look at you like you have a plague.
Boy, that's the truth, right? You sneeze in public and you feel like,
I'm like, no, I promise. I've had this every year for as long as I can remember.
You better have a mask on.
This is not the cocoa.
Cocoa.
Wow.
It's not the cocoa.
But Joe is here.
Joe is here. And Joe contacted me this week and he said, Lord's been dealing with me about some stuff. I want to come by, do GSR format. I'm like, what is that? We haven't did that in so long.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the few folks that have come into your studio on how many times have I co-hosted? And
right. You've never been the victim.
Yeah, you've asked a couple of times, and I've evaded as often as I can.
Hey, when you're ready, you're ready.
Right.
And it's probably not going to be whatever we figured it was going to be either.
Oh no, it never is.
Nope.
Absolutely
shows
not.
Up and shows off. And knowing as close to I am with Joe, there's a few things I hope that he mentions, but we'll see.
Yeah, the good news is that you can prompt me if I miss it because I'm sitting here completely unscripted. Like you said, I've had a lot of opportunities to come into this studio and sit down with you gentlemen and share my thoughts and chime in on different topics. But I've never really.
You steered away from the testimony part.
Very much so. It's. I don't love talking about myself. I love talking. I love, being. I'm a facilitator by trade, and I don't mind getting up in front of groups of people. I'm not shy, but I shy away from talking about me for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's a humble spirit, though. Nothing wrong with that.
If that's the true
nature of the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or is it? I'm scared.
You feared and scared?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
Probably not. Maybe.
No,
who knows?
Man, I know you.
Yeah, I doubt it. But this year, right, 2020 has been
crazy,
stupid, you name it. And I was sitting and praying this week and really thinking about where am I right now, just in my life and in general. And I started reflecting back over the 2020, of course, and really everything since about March when all heck broke loose. But then I started thinking further back to, as far as 18 months to almost 2 years ago. And I started recognizing a lot of little things and details that one could chalk up to coincidence if you look at it just by itself.
Sure.
Or one could just chalk up to the universe really liked me that week.
Yeah.
If I want to kind of narrow that one instance out. But man, when you start looking at the whole map that lays out there, it's hard to deny that God's hand has not been clearly in my life and steering the decisions that I thought I was making and the things that I was doing.
Preach, brother.
And it just, it seemed like the right time to come on because I know, I don't imagine, I know, because these individuals are my friends who are still going through it. But 2020 has been a hard year, and there's a lot of people still looking for that hope and that goodness that is bound to come out of it at the end. They're not at the end yet, right? So, not going to go all the way back to, when my mother first saw me, right? Although I'm sure if you ask her, it was the best day of her life because I was the firstborn. So, sorry, sister. But, I had a Catholic upbringing. My folks had me in church from a very, very young age and, did the Sunday school thing and went through first communion and then ultimately confirmation. And then went on to this thing called college. And, college, I did really good the first semester of my freshman year, staying plugged into church. And then life just started happening. I needed to work 2 jobs and at one point chose to work a 3rd job to pay for college and to get through school. And then I ended up getting married and life just started happening. I got a job in hospitality 24/7. You're always working. And I never lost faith. I never at any point thought there wasn't a God, but I guess I didn't see where I needed him. If I'm just being brutally honest here in this room, right? I had everything was fine.
I think a lot of us go through those emotions.
Yeah. I had everything under control. I didn't need any help from anybody. Everything was lining up and I was getting the promotions as I was going along and life was just happening.
The universe was lining up.
The universe was, a lot of really awesome coincidences. And man, that universe really had my back. So fast forward, from there we moved to Florida. I guess about 7 years ago or so. And we had a neighbor that was going to the church that I attend now. And she invited us to church and I very respectfully declined. I was busy. And again, the universe had my back. All was going well. But she never stopped inviting us and it was never pushy and it was never intrusive. It was just a genuine, hey, you want to come with us tomorrow? Hey, you want to come with us on Sunday? Hey, you should come check out this church that I'm going to. So I don't know, maybe a year went by. And finally, one day I looked at my wife or she looked at me. Let's give her the credit because she probably was in charge here. Let's be real.
It's always better that way.
It is. And we just said, what the heck? Let's go. Let's check it out. Then we walk into this church. We went to a contemporary service, which being raised a Catholic, that was, I had done Catholic. I had done a little bit of Southern Baptist, which was, a little bit terrifying. No offense to Southern Baptists out there, but coming from...
they can cook though,
So we walk in and all of a sudden there's this stage and there's guitars and drums and it's loud and the lights are down and people's hands are in the air and it's I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but I'll be honest, the music kind of hooked me. I was like, this is cool. This is a cool take on Christian music and a different way of worshiping. And while I'm still not a throw your hands in the air kind of person when I walk in, still haven't quite reached that comfort level. I really enjoyed hearing that Christian music in a genre that I guess I had never really experienced.
Mm-hmm, right.
So next thing you know, this pastor jumps up on the stage and he was just a real guy. It was another moment where I was like, this is kind of cool. Like the guy's in blue jeans and a button down shirt. And he kind of just sounds like somebody that I would interact with in my everyday life. So just another kind of touch point where it didn't feel intimidating. It didn't feel, off. So we started going and we started attending this church. And I went for a couple of weeks, and then my job at the time had a lot of travel. I had to travel sometimes every single week. So I'd miss a Sunday here. Sometimes I'd miss a couple Sundays, but every time I was in town, I went back, and my wife started going every week. And I noticed all of a sudden, wow, this pastor remembers me. And I wasn't doing anything crazy. I wasn't some top tither that was walking in and all of a sudden, right? You can't say that he remembered me because I'm the money man for the church. I'm certainly not that, right? And I'm not that interesting of a person. We had quick conversations, but man, God put this pastor in place that knew me, right? That spoke to me and asked things about me. And that was a cool connection. I had never really experienced that. So there's kind of the quick ramp up to how I got back into church. But then, a couple years went by and went to church every week. And those of you who listen a lot know that I work at the church as well now. So, I'm there pretty frequently.
Thank goodness. Praise the Lord.
But everything in life was still going right and going well. And I was experiencing a relationship with God and with Jesus, and was praying and had gotten into reading the Bible. But I continued to say, faith is easy when everything's going your way.
Always.
When I talk to people and you get the jobs you want, and you have enough money to pay the bills, and you can feed the family.
You didn't say that out loud, did you?
I've said that out loud multiple times.
Oh, okay. Hence, keep going.
Yeah, I've definitely said that out loud a lot of times over the last couple of years. That I truly believe and knew that faith is always easy when everything's going your way. And then here came 2020. Now, before I really get into 2020, I just want to point out a couple of things that will come together here in a moment. But in 2018 or 19, I'm bad with dates, we made a decision for my wife to stop working. So she became a stay-at-home mom to raise our youngest son. That came with some financial decisions that we had to make that were tough to make for the long term, right? We cashed in her 401k and used that to take care of some other debts that we had accumulated so that we could make this happen. And so that was one little moment in life, right? That will come clearer into picture as we move forward. I had transitioned jobs, had moved into a new role early in 2020. And then in March, I think it was, I found out that I was going to be furloughed. And that was tough. That was, I've been with the same company for 15 years now. Had a great job, great peers, a really good thing going on. And in the beginning, the furlough was kind of fun and funny. We were calling it our little spring break. Nobody knew how serious this thing was going to be. And when we realized it was going to go on for longer than 2 weeks, we started calling it our mini summer vacation. And about 30, 45 days into this thing, it started becoming very obvious that this probably is not going to end well from a work perspective. And I remember sitting, I think with you, Fritz, and this was more of an off-air thing, but one of the conversations that we had was that comment came up again. Faith is easy when everything's going your way. But right now, everything feels like it's derailing. And I knew in my spirit that this is where the rubber meets the road in my faith journey. This is where all that stuff that I've been talking about for the last, 5 years, as I've been saying that I'm a Christian and I've got a relationship with Jesus and I'm reading the Bible and I'm joining you on podcasts and I'm doing all these things. I have to make a choice right now as to whether I really meant that and believe that, or if really I'm just going to go back and hope that big bad universe hooks me up at the end of this thing.
It's like
praying for a clanging gate,
like praying for patience,
right?
Yeah, I talked about that last week, didn't we?
And I remember praying, and I said to God, I don't know what the plan is. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know that I trust you. And I know that you've got this. And then time went on. I felt a little better, and time went on, and then got a little more bad news, and things got worse from a work perspective, which was expected, right? And I felt overwhelmed at times, and I felt anxious at times, but I remember stopping, and every single time that I felt that I was getting deep down in that valley of despair, just stopping and looking up and just saying to God again, I don't know what this is. I don't know what the plan is, but I trust you. I trust you. I know you've got this. And as we moved through, things just continued to happen. I mentioned the choice that Liz and I made to cash in the 401k. Well, that also left us with a little bit of savings. Nothing crazy, but for the first time in our life, we had some savings. I also had a lot of vacation days going into the furlough. So I had these two pieces where, again, looking at them individually and separately, one could call it coincidence, good luck, the universe lining things up. But these are little touch points in this road, in this journey that I've had in 2020, that when I look back at this big picture, I see where God's hand has been in it. I had enough vacation days and money and savings to really keep the status quo. Could we do all the fun things that we wanted to do? Well, no, of course not. Good news was that was easy because the whole world closed. So even if I wanted to go and blow a bunch of money, there was nowhere to spend it. But, regardless, these things were lined up. But as we went along, the money was starting to run out. The vacation days were starting to run out. We were starting to recognize that we're going to be in trouble here pretty quickly. And, without getting into all the specifics and everything, there were some things that my company had done that was awesome. Right. But it was hurting the opportunity to qualify for some of the assistance programs that existed for people that were affected. Well, don't you know that literally as soon as the resources were about to run out, the company changed the policy and made a shift in the policy that still provided great care to the associates, but also gave flexibility here in the state of Florida, which is not where this company that I work for is headquartered, right? So again, coincidence? Sure, let's call it that, right? Or the universe? Maybe. But here's another little thing that happened that if you look at it individually, boy, that's good luck. But knowing what I know and believing what I believe, another example of God's timing is perfect. He recognized that there was a need, something that was going to happen in my life, and things happened that allowed us to move forward and to continue to process through and to make it, to be honest. And, you proceed forward, and I'm in a position today where I'm very blessed to say that I have a job again. I'm back employed, and it is with the same company, but I'm sitting here and I'm counting my blessings, truly. But I truly felt that I would be remiss if I didn't sit down here in this forum for a moment and acknowledge that this place that I sit in today is God's design. It's God's plan, and it's proof that God will take care of those who believe and those who have faith and those who give their worries and their stress to Him. You go back 18 months ago and an inconsequential decision for Liz not to work set up this one piece of the pie that set up another domino, that set up another domino, that set up another domino. And as those dominoes continued to fall through the last 2 years of my life, and I look back, I see God's hand in every single moment, thought, decision that I thought that I was making. There He was influencing and guiding. And that comes down, I truly believe, to the trust and to the faith that we had.
Not only that, can I make a point?
Please.
And I have to admonish you, because you weren't that guy that just folded his arms, sat on the couch, stuck out your lip, dug in your heels, stomped your feet, pouted about it, wondered why God wasn't moving. You know what you did? You found whatever need was at the church, and you were there. Every time the doors were open, you were there. Every time I called, you weren't too proud to put on an apron and wash dishes, to put food on the table for your family. In my opinion, you're a man's man, and God honored that.
Right.
Because your faith without the works is dead.
And, you know, I thanks for bringing some of that up. And I will say that, because I think it's so important to say this. I did all those things. I just didn't let myself get stuck in them. I pouted. I stuck my lip
sure
out.
Of it, but
I crossed my, and I know what you're saying, but
the bigger picture was,
I just want to make sure that
faith in action.
Absolutely. But I want to make sure that everybody out there that's listening, that hears, knows that you're still going to feel angry sometimes, and stressed sometimes, and anxious sometimes, and mad and sad. And those emotions that people experience are going to hit you, and they're going to hit you hard. And they hit me repeatedly through this process. But I will tell you that what got me through is exactly what you're saying, Fritz. And that is that I gave that to God every single time.
Well, the point I didn't get to, and this is the period at the end of the sentence. People were watching you, bro. People were watching you and making comment. That guy is not afraid to do what he's got to do.
Right. Well, not only
for his family. And that
God
sent a message to, right. I understand. Yeah. God blessed it, obviously.
Right. And I see it in another, I see it the way you see it too, but I see it in another perspective as well, that he wanted you to see that you had the faith as he took you through that.
Yep.
Amen to that.
Yep. I believe that very much, because again, I thought I did, but
it was a test.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, another piece that I don't talk about, but you know what, I feel like I'm going to talk about it here for a second today, is that about 3 years ago, I started experiencing panic attacks. I had never experienced anything like that in my life before. I thought I was dying a couple of times because it just was so overwhelming, and I really was flushed with anxiety like I have never experienced. And that was one of the hardest things for me to deal with in my life, because I didn't want to take medicine. I didn't want to be on pills. And finally my doctor fussed at me enough and said, I get it, but you got to do something, because you're not functioning. Right. So I started taking anxiety medicine.
I know what it's like secondhand. My ex-wife went through anxiety attacks all the time.
Well, I'll tell you what, April of this year, I stopped taking them. The month after I was furloughed, I just felt like, and I had known from the very beginning that I wanted an exit plan from this. It was a let's rebalance, restabilize, and get off the pills. But in the middle of this, in the middle of this year, in the middle of everything else, and I just felt like, you know what, this is the right time. And somehow, well, not somehow, right? That universe, right? Let's give it all the credit again. But through intentional prayer about that as well, you know, that God, I trust you, and I not that I haven't given you this all along, but I give you this as well, and can tell you that here I sit in one of the years that you would have think that I probably should have doubled down on the meds, and I was able to overcome that as well. So, you know,
can you give me that 90-day supply so I can be through in 30?
Right.
Wow. That's amazing.
Wow.
Hey, there is something I did want you to add to that.
Please.
And you don't have to reveal the company if you don't want to, but Can you talk about your interview process? Because that story in itself, I think, is just
a God
story punchline. It really is. And I hope he can remember the little details, because it's hilarious what he did and how it happened, and talk about just being real and being transparent.
I'll. So I was in a position where I'm still almost speechless that I'm employed today, because this may have been the most talented group of individuals that I ever interviewed with and against. Our department was scaled down from, over 80 people to 17. And I honestly didn't know, but didn't expect to get an opportunity. But I still went into the interview with 100%. I'm going to give it my all. I prayed before the interview, and, God be with me and guide me through this conversation and give me the words and give me the calm and the grace and all the things that I need to do this. And, 2020, one thing that's come out of it is that we all, when you get on conference calls these days of any sort, you're on webcam. So I sit down and I'm in my home office, and I've got, I've got a suit on and I've got the webcam on, and my two interviewers join me, and they turn on their webcams, and we start the process. And in the first question, one of the worst decisions I may have made in 2020 was bringing home a puppy. She was adorable. She is adorable. She's not dead. She's just not with us anymore. But she had blue eyes, and she was just this cute little puppy that mom had abandoned from the litter at 4 weeks old. And so we brought her in, and she started growing like a weed. And next thing you know, this dog is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And she spent a lot of time on the back porch, which is right outside of where my office is. And it was, 60 seconds into answering the first question. And all of a sudden, this dog started doing something that it's never done before. And it is incessantly barking. And barking and barking and barking and barking and barking. And I don't even know how it was breathing, because there were so many barks coming out of this thing's mouth. And I just know that everybody on the line can hear this. There's no doubt that this is coming through loud and clear. So I'm trying to bang on the glass without being obvious, because I'm on webcam, and that didn't help. And so I get through the question and I answered it. But I finally said, "Can you guys hear the dog?" And these two ladies they're like, "Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay." Again, 2020 has made the world much more forgiving about real life when working from home. But I'm like, I said, "Would you mind if I just go and deal with this?" And they're like, "Absolutely." So I turn off the webcam and I mute my speaker, and I jump up and I run outside, and the dog runs from me. So now here I am in a suit. I'm already a little stressed out, or a lot stressed out, because I've got to the interview of my life, right? To see if I'm going to be able to continue forward with my company. And now this dog is running away from me, and she's still barking. And so I'm like, I can't come back inside after asking for an opportunity to fix the situation and not have fixed the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm running around, I'm getting sweatier and sweatier. Finally, I catch this dog and I bring her inside, and I get her in her kennel, and I get back to the chair, and I sit down, and I'm like, please, let me get through this, right? And I turn the webcam back on, and I know they can tell. I mean, I'm flush in the face, and they asked me another question.
We had a suit on, for gosh sakes.
And it's Florida, right? So they asked me another question, and I'm trying to answer it. And I'm actually getting lightheaded as I'm going through the answer, because I can't breathe to get a deep breath. And I'm expelling all of my oxygen to try to answer the question. And finally, I grabbed my water that I had, and I was like, "I'm sorry. I have no idea what I just said to you. I can't even, let me just," and I got a breath and, in the back of my head, just said a prayer. God help me, get this thing back on track. And so I'm still not confident if I ever answered the second question. I don't know. I hope I did. I must have, because I have the job. We all know the punchline at this point. But I go through the interview and I get to the end of the process and I'm sitting there and I get off the line and I'm just, my head's in my hand. And I called one of my friends and I said, I don't know. I said, I think I just sealed the deal on my fate for that one, right? I just don't know how you recover from that. Well, he and I start talking and finally agree, you know what? We just gotta own it, right? At the end of the day, it is what it is. So I go and I get the dog out of her crate, and I had promised myself I wouldn't get the dog out of the crate until my wife got home to protect the dog because I was worried that
Did you ever find out why I was barking?
No. She has a new home. So
Carolyn, very fitting.
Yes. Thank you, Hutchinson's. So I take the dog and I lay her down in the middle of the living room and I'm snapping photos on my cell phone. And finally I get the right one, right? The SPCA photo that I'm looking for with the eyes looking up and just perfect. And I take it into Photoshop and I Photoshop a little message into it. I'm sorry for my outburst. And so I sent my recap email to the interview and, thank you so much for the opportunity. Look forward to, if I can answer anything else. Lastly, Rue would like to address her behavior during the call. And then I attached the picture into there as well, allowing her to apologize for her outburst herself and sent it. And the rest is history. Here we are. So that was knee slapping good.
Who knows? The Lord might have orchestrated the whole darn thing.
Of course. Of course.
And they're absolutely. Like, at that point, after that email with the picture, I mean, like, how do we not hire this guy?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was one of those moments where, I think a God lesson, a life lesson, geez, these days, you really do. You have to embrace real life. And
yes, you do.
When things don't go well, when things don't go your way, really try to find the humanity in the entire situation because somebody else is experiencing what you're experiencing. And, Fritz, you and I and Pastor Chris were talking about this this week very briefly, but it does remind me that statement. Geez, these days, how many times do you ask somebody how they are and not actually listen to their answer? And how many times does somebody ask you how you are? And do you feel like they didn't want to hear anything beyond okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very true.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know where that came from, but just
that was for somebody.
Yeah, embrace humanity.
Lighten up.
Yeah,
that's what I'm being told lately. Lighten up.
You have to.
Uh-huh.
You have to.
You got to, Mikey. Start enjoying it sometime. Come on, buddy.
So that's my that's what I think I'm here to talk about today.
It was pretty powerful.
I think it was pretty good. Just don't, just like patience, don't say words that, like you said, or never going to happen. You shouldn't say that either, right?
Absolutely.
Never say never.
Never say never. You know it. Don't get comfortable and never say never.
Uh-huh.
It's not our plan.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Appreciate that. Want to thank everybody that's been hanging out with us on Mixlr tonight. Donnie Seeger and Mr. Robert Herman. Facebook likes, anything?
We do.
All right.
We do. Someone during the week had kind of liked the post. And when I go back and I check and it says that they haven't liked us yet, I invite
them. Yeah.
I invite them to like us. And this guy did it. We have a new Facebook like, Thomas Hunt.
Thomas Hunt, welcome to the GSR family, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thomas, you won't be disappointed. Make sure you make that page a favorite and keep up with what's going on.
Amen to that.
All right.
Well, you had your iPad open. Was there anything?
No, it was just in case I needed to
just
get
in case
official verse or something.
Yeah, we were pretty verse light tonight.
We were. I was going to look when you mentioned, about doing your own thing and your own steps, but there's a couple of proverbs that hook up to that for sure.
Yeah, there's one on my desktop, my work computer, and I'm going to draw a blank on it right now.
That's why I didn't say it, because I don't know the thing by heart.
It is, I'll tell you what, when I get home tonight, I'll post it to the GSR page. Because it's it's embarrassing that I can't tell you right now because I read it every day.
Right.
But I'm going to misquote it if I try and say it right now. But it is just one of those things. It should be a memory verse. I just have a bad memory. So I'll put that on the GSR page when I get home tonight because it's in line with that.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
All
right.
Awesome. Finally, like he was saying early on, Father got his attention and was tugging at his heart to come here and finally do that after we've been asking for, a couple years?
I think so.
Yeah.
And he's always been gracious to come co-host and sit in and talk with us.
But when we mentioned his testimony, it was, oh, no.
Wait a minute.
No, that's nobody wants to hear that. Well, I
don't like to talk about myself.
Well, hey, there's a time and a place for everything. But
Amen.
I'll tell you, I know there's a lot of folks out there right now that are still truly hurting, that are still trying to understand where God is in their lives. And I am blessed beyond measure today to have seen the outcome. But I just encourage everyone out there, don't give up, don't lose faith, because God's timing is perfect. And though he hasn't answered your prayers yet, doesn't mean he isn't going to.
Or maybe he already has and he didn't answer it the way you thought
exactly
it was going to be.
There's a great country song about that, and I love it because it paints the picture well in music. But sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers, because what we think is best for our lives is often not.
Right. Oh, yeah. He can see around the corner.
Wow.
Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I'm not in charge, and he loves me despite me.
And a fun, again, non-verse, but a fun little saying is, it's all good in the end. And so if it's not good for you today, that just means it's not the end.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Marinate on that for a little bit there, Mikey.
You're the one that does the marinating.
I do the marinating.
Does that mean you do the grilling, Mikey?
He does it all.
Oh, yeah.
That's a carrot cake making machine over there. I've never had one to beat it, ever. Or a pan-fried T-bone.
Oh, yeah.
Ribeye. Ribeye. Yeah.
You make me hungry. I ate a salad for dinner.
On that note, we just appreciate and love each and every one of you. Go check out our website, www.godstoriesradio.com. And also, there's a little button down there. And if God gives you the nudge or the tug to press it, every little bit helps us.
Well, absolutely. Wasn't tax man is coming.
Tax time is coming. So we appreciate any and all help. And we just want to continue to bring a positive word and hope and encouragement during this time of COVID. And like Joe was talking about, with people that have loss of employment and still on furlough and don't know which end is up. That's a lot of folks out there.
Right. It is.
And we feel like that we're a light at the end of that tunnel. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus. And anyone else out there that if you feel that the Lord is tugging at you like he did to Joe, that your time to give your testimony, we would certainly love to have it. Any way you would like, we'd love to have you in the studio. But if you want to write it and send it in, or if we want to make a phone call and call in, we can do that as well. But we want your testimony.
We do. Or a stent in your day, a God story.
Absolutely.
We'll take it.
Yeah, I think that's an important call out, is that that word testimony was always intimidating to me, and frankly still is. So if you too are thinking, I don't have a testimony, well, you do. Your whole life is your testimony, and it's
Amen, Joe.
It's a true glory to God to share it. But even if it's just a moment or a fraction in time, godstoriesradiotina@gmail.com is where you would send that note to let her know that you want to get involved, and she'll help you with all the little details and the coordination and everything else. So godstoriesradiotina@gmail.com to get on the books.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
It was nice having a guest doing a public service announcement for you. Huh?
Yeah. That was almost as good as Tina.
That was fantastic.
Can't take the co-host out of me. Sorry.
I love this brother. That's it, man. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. That about wraps it up for session 263. I'm Fritz.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Joe.
God bless.
God bless.